how I healed myself, or how do they begin their own healing. There is no one way to heal. Healing is a journey. Healing is a restoration to one's original purity, one's state of integrity. Healing unfolds in layers and happens over time via our experiences, via our relationships, and even the most mature flower in its full bloom appreciates its seedling phase. Life of creation.
Peace, family. Can you hear me? I can't, for some reason, I can't hear anything. Can you hear me? All right, 1 second. I'm going to go out and come back in, family. Peace, family. Can you hear me? All right, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it was muted. Okay, gotcha.
There you go. Can you hear? All right.
So there's a little bit of feedback. I'm echoing. So maybe I'm on. Is the value still up on Instagram?
Yes.
Yeah, turn the value down on Instagram, and then we'll directly deal straight from YouTube.
There we go.
Yeah. Peace, family. It's just a process.
This is the process, right?
This
is the process, Jay. No, it's actually beautiful because this is the process. This is a prime example of how life flows, how life goes and flows. Things happen, and you gotta go with the flow. Like this is our first live on YouTube and Instagram. So yeah, we appreciate y'all for your patience. And yeah, that essentially has set the tone for the evening. This episode is going to be very, very powerful. It's very, very special in terms of self-love. Our last episode with Delana was super, super powerful. So many people resonated with the message, and both King and I felt it was really important to also show and focus on the duality in healing and how there are two aspects, in terms of healing and becoming whole and returning to oneself. And so last week we spoke, or not last week, I'm sorry, the week before last, we spoke about self-love and what that looks like. And this week we're going to be speaking on self-love as well, but from the perspective of the shadow and alchemizing that and what actual healing and shadow work really looks like in real time. I know that personally, speaking for myself and in communications with King, we both had separate experiences over the course of the last 2 weeks due to the transitions that were, major shifts within our lives. And I'm not going to speak too much on King's experience, but I know personally for myself, That was one of the reasons why we decided not to go live last Thursday, because life, and this is real. We are healing in real time, and so we do have to honor our bodies and honor our souls and spirits in those ways, and allow the shedding and the growth to take place, and not necessarily force things when it's not necessary. And so that really, our personal experiences definitely set a tone and set an inspiration for tonight's conversation and tonight's live. And yeah, I pretty much just wanted to give that introduction. King, I know you have your perspective on tonight and your personal experience.
I say, well, I would say for me, I'm gonna be coming from the perspective of um, breaking karmic cycles and actually understanding the process of maybe there were karmic cycles that we were going through that were a part of our life and lessons that needed to be learned, but maybe we already learned them lessons, and maybe subconsciously we are just attracting and attaching to the same situation. And so it's kind of like not in that, not really in expectance of manifesting anything different, but in expectance of manifesting a man that won't never love me, manifesting a job that'll never pay me what I deserve, manifesting, so living in these certain karmic cycles, but really being aware, which is how me and Kaneshi are really connected, which is through awareness, being aware of the situation, so you are aware enough to detach from the karmic cycle and complete it, which is also a process of self-love. You know what I mean?
Ashe, Ashe.
I say,
Absolutely. And that is primarily what we're going to be bringing to you guys tonight in terms of our focus, our intent, our conversation, just our experiences, and focusing on that duality, those karmic cycles, those lessons, and how to reframe our perspectives, and more so look at them as this is happening for me, not to me. You know what I'm saying? And so I know we've had conversations in the past about shadow work, but today we're going to get a little bit more in depth with how that actually works and what that looks like. So before we get into that today, I did want to start with our meditation, which is, the mind to heart drop. We pretty much, well, not pretty much, we start every live conversation with this meditation. If you're new to our live conversations, it's a very quick meditation called the mind to heart drop. It's very simple. It has the power and magnitude of a 2-hour meditation. However, it takes about 3 to 5 minutes. And so it's really simple. If you can just envision a very small white light in the center of your forehead where your third eye lies, and you envision this white light, and you're going to envision this white light dropping down as if it's in an elevator from your mind to your heart. And the idea or the intent of this meditation is to take all of the thoughts that are in your head, all of the confusion, our minds are like Wi-Fi. They pick up everything, on a daily, sometimes thoughts that are not our own. And so this meditation essentially moves them from our minds to our heart, where our authentic self lives and where we can speak from our God self. And so we're going to envision this white light, and you can repeat after me. And it is, I now ask my spirit
I now ask my spirit
to take the thoughts in my head
to take the thoughts in my head
and drop them into my heart
and drop them into my heart
to make me real.
to make me real.
Now you're going to envision this white light, and we're going to count together from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I now ask my body
I now ask my body
to receive this healing energy
to receive this healing energy
and make me real.
and make me real. I say.
I, okay, so um, today, as we are focusing on alchemy and the duality of life and the duality of healing, I felt that it was appropriate to start out with the etymology of the word duality. And so, for those of you that are not familiar with etymology, etymology is the breakdown of the origin of certain words, so that you can resonate or really fully understand the meaning of these words, where they come from, and the origin. And so, upon my research, the etymology of the word duality is twofold in nature, and it's a state of being into two. And so, I like to um, look at these words and break them down and define them for myself, right? So, in terms of duality, um, it's twofold in nature, right? And so, in terms of healing, in terms of becoming whole, one has to understand that there are two aspects in terms of healing, and I feel like conversations like these are important because people tend to think that healing looks a certain kind of way,
Mm.
and it certainly does not. And I feel as though it's important for people to know that, as we always say, there's no one way to heal, but sometimes pain and chaos, or what feels or seems like that, is actually the expansion, is actually the healing that's needed. Um, and so we want to talk a little bit more about that tonight, and how we are able to, as alchemists, transmute our perspective, which means reframe our perspective rather than looking at something as it happening to you, it's happening for you, and that's how we actually begin the shadow work. Um, and so I really thought that it was important to bring that perspective up, and also just bring up the fact that, again, people look at healing a specific kind of way. They feel as though, when you're falling out with friends, when you and your spouse has been together for 10 years, that you were aligning, and now all of a sudden you are no longer aligning. And
Mm.
these are things that we take and perceive as pain, and things that are done to us, rather than things that are done for us, and I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, King, but
No, you already know you got me lit. So I'm thinking about a lot of stuff. So just in the aspect of duality, I feel like this is the perfect way to start the episode as well, because we're talking about the root chakra at this point right now. We're talking about that dualistic nature, and we're talking about the aspect of us that, you know, um, that is fighting the light, but also scared of the dark. So our root chakra shows our duality every day. Most of the world is living in that root chakra, and operating from this energy. That's why a person can be loyal today and tomorrow backstab you because of the dualistic aspect of the root chakra when it's not balanced. So we're talking about balancing that aspect of us and understanding that, when someone does something to us that we deem as, evil or wrong or injustice in the aspect of the universe, this is a reflection of something that either we need to fix or something that we're actually thinking, or we're manifesting this reality for ourselves. And so whenever we deal with our shadow, our inner child, or the most deepest, darkest, like you said, our relationship issues or whatever it is, when you make it through these situations, you actually come out of it a stronger being, because in that time it reveals certain parts about yourself to you. It reveals certain parts about your partner to you, about your mother to you, about, so you came out of this situation with a win, even though those tears felt like a loss. But tears are actually an opportunity to release. Like I was just talking to my bro earlier, and I said, I am in a place now where even if it's a situation that where somebody done me wrong, or I feel some type of way, or I'm frustrated, I am going to focus on, after I get my initial feelings out, because we human and we have to feel. We can't act like, we can't just move on. That's how we end up doing other things, But after I feel and I go through that, now I say, bro, everything that I'm doing in this process is going to be to make my make my heart lighter, to not be moving from a heavy place, not be like this nigga, this person, man, them people, this, but moving from an aspect of, you know what, compassion, love. And this is how we bring balance to that root chakra. Because the root chakra, this place that she's talking about in us, is going to make us reactive instead of proactive. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that you had mentioned earlier that I wanted to kind of piggyback on, or kind of just chime in on, a conversation I was having earlier actually with my hairstylist. And we were talking about just how, we have common sayings in our communities, like you are what you attract and things like that. And we don't necessarily, you hear it, but it's like you don't really understand what that means. And when people are saying you are what you attract, essentially, a lot of the times, relationships are extremely transformative in our healing journeys. And a lot of times in relationships, we actually tend to attract what we are needing within ourselves. So if you are a person who has not shown yourself love, who has not practiced self love, who has not like garnered that awareness, then you will attract a person who will abandon you. You will attract a person who will um, trigger those things that are within you that are needed to be healed. You will attract a person who will force you to find a way to love yourself, who will eventually show you that you need to love yourself. And so that's why our last episode was so crucial and critical. And this is equally as important because there's a duality. You have to really love and understand who you are and come into your own awareness as an individual before you enter into a partnership. Because 9 times out of 10, what we're looking for in someone else is what we are missing, internally. It's what we're needing internally. And yeah, I was essentially, what was it? I wrote something out that had came out while we were talking. It was essentially like a lot of people like myself, even. I moved to LA. I said, I wanted to start a new life. I want to start over. I moved there thinking I was going to find me there, but I was running from my reality at home, trying to find something somewhere else when the work and the healing that I needed to do was right where I was at. You know what I'm saying? And we kind of tend to do that search of self, search of a new beginning, search of love, search of this, but everything that you're looking for is internal, it's inside of you.
And I like when you talk about you know, the relationship, because we have to understand our first relationship is self. You know, yeah, we have to understand that we are multi-dimensional beings. Therefore, when certain things happens in the day, this certain part of you comes up and reacts to the situation. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like you have these certain parts of you that are just trapped in your subconscious, and they come out, like I said, whenever we're reactive. So, whenever you stop being reactive to yourself, I used to talk so bad about myself, what I'm saying, to myself about certain things, or if I made a mistake, and what's so deep is that it was just a habit or a something I was repeating of what my parents done to me. So I was just projecting the same like so-called love that I was taught to myself. So we have to go back into our subconscious, into our heart space, into our chakras, into our emotions, and we have to reprogram what love really is to us. You know what I'm saying? What does love really mean? Because all these every relationship we get into, we say we love them, whether it's your mother, father, cousin, or your spouse, or whatever. You might get your uncle, who it is, you say you love them. I love you, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what is love? Because that is going, and if we haven't really went over that phase of the true example and true meaning of what love is with ourselves, then it's impossible for us to love anyone else. And so, and that's where this coincides back to, the last episode, that self-love. you know um Me and Kyle was talking about a lot. We were talking recently about how a lot of people focus on the quantum realms and the just the cosmos in general. Just is, like I said, there's so many, the omniverse. We could just, it's so many aspects that we could talk about, but not understanding that all that information is for healing. That information is pointless if it's not being utilized to do shadow work and to go within and to understand how to alchemize and how to, go to the memories of the heart space, and how you can change memories, change bad memories into positive memories. Understanding that your brain is just a quantum computer. So you don't have to live in any moment, family. You don't have to be stuck in that situation that happened to you that you feel you're traumatized and you will never get over. You don't have to live in that moment. You can actually create a whole new timeline for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So understanding that's how powerful we are, and that's the duality, because you like, well, dang, I can't just blink my eyes and get some money like this. Well, that's duality, family. You know what I'm saying? This is the 3D realm. So there are certain aspects and things that you can do that. It might just the thing is that it's not coming to you fast enough, because this 3D realm has time. When we manifest in a world that doesn't have any time, so technically you already manifested it, you just haven't reached it yet. You see what I'm saying? And so we have to understand our power, and the power of duality, but also the power of love. Because if we don't understand the power of love, then I honestly, you can't make it through shadow work if you don't have self love, because it's going to be depressing.
Absolutely, family. You said a whole lot. You dropped a lot
Yeah.
of gems. You sure did. I saw someone ask, "How do I change my timeline?" Um,
Hmm.
which I feel is real. I do too. I like that too, and I feel like it's really important because when we have conversations with healing and things of that nature, we are speaking in terms of levels of consciousness, right? And your consciousness is how you see things, how you receive information, and excuse me, in terms of our levels of consciousness, we our environment, what we watch, our conversations, the music we listen to, the food we eat, our mobility, how much we stretch, get outside, get in nature, really, really
Yeah.
affects our consciousness. It affects our consciousness. Like, so when I'm up here and I'm preaching about, like, yo, you got to wear organic clothes, or yo, your food got to be organic, or, holistic living, that means like you are willing to raise your vibration and your conscious level. So in terms of timelines, there's no irony with all of these social networks that we're on, that they use the word timelines. You have a
Hmm.
timeline on Twitter, you got a timeline on Instagram. That's no coincidence. You know what I'm saying? And so what you're following, who you're following, what you're watching,
Then it's
are
the
you
feed. It feeds
that's
you.
your feed. That feed is the timeline that you're
Yeah.
choosing. It's your conscious. So in terms of your timeline, how you switch your timelines, you have to recreate, you have to reprogram yourself. You have to stop following gossip sites. Stop just looking at, say cheese and Vlad and this one and that. Like, stop. Like, you know, find other materials, other resources that expand your consciousness, things that you can't necessarily connect to that are right next to you. Follow pages that are in other countries that have other information. That's how you begin to change your timeline and raise your consciousness and begin to raise your vibration. I mean, King, I don't know if how your process is like, but I know for me, that's definitely.
I mean, so you know me, I'm all about breaking it down, to even where a baby can understand it. And so I think what you broke down was so clear and so direct. It's like that was a tool. That was a direct tool that you just gave. All I would add too, if anything, is affirmations. You know what I'm saying? I'm really big on affirmations. You know what I'm saying? Before you go to bed, me and my wife do things like, I'm gonna wake up in my highest timeline, and then whenever I wake up the next rising, we say things like I am in my highest timeline. So look, just to add on, but truthfully, what she's saying is everything. You are literally creating your timeline and and where you live and your reality based off of the magnetism of your energy and of your heart space. So how you vibrate in family. That's the question. you know that's the question.
It's a video I posted a while back. I think it was Paula Herlock. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. But she had mentioned how we're energy conductors. Us as our physical beings, we are multidimensional beings. Having this human experience. So our bodies, we're energy conductors, and the more that we go outside, we connect with nature. The more that we allow the sun to come down and hit our crown, our third eye, our crown chakra, enter into our bodies and then come out through our feet, and the earth charge us from the ground. We are conductors. And the more that we begin to understand this concept as multidimensional beings, as beings that have the power to manifest our reality, we have to be back in alignment and back in one with the universe. We have to approach life from a holistic perspective. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we're having these conversations. That's why we're doing this, because healing, as we keep continuously mentioning, there's no one way to do it. There's not one way to heal. And so there's no perfect gimmick that nobody's selling over here. Like, we're literally really healing and living in real time.
And also, family, for those that are on Instagram, y'all come tap in on YouTube, Wife of Creation. Come subscribe. We are actually live on YouTube right now, so y'all come tap in with us for the full experience. See a lot of family tapping in the comments on Instagram right now. So y'all tap in with us on YouTube, the Wife of Creation. Subscribe and tap in with us on the live. So for me, to really just to really go into that place. And when we was talking about the Pisces energy, and the how last episode we really we were going through and dealing with our own personal shadow work. You know what I'm saying, and alchemizing this energy. And so I really want to speak on that experience, and also speak on the downloads that I got after the experience. So breaking old karmic cycles through self-awareness, through acts of love, accountability, detaching from the victim mindset, and also providing peace after chaos. And so those are essentially the areas that we get trapped in, but also the areas that can unlock us from the cage at the same time. The duality of love. You know what I'm saying? Is something. Someone can hurt you and break you and change your whole world in the name of love, or someone can really change your life and give you the most life and provide you with the most purest joy through love as well. And so how do we provide peace in chaos? That's how we break karmic cycles, family. Um, it's whenever something is approaching you and the last 10 times you cuss them out. But this time you don't cuss them out. You actually respond in love and peace, or you respond in a hug, or you respond in how do we bring peace to chaos? That's how we break karmic cycles. And so as neuromelanated people, and really anybody on the planet, you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying I'm gonna speak to my people because of what I've seen directly. We tend to not be able to be held accountable. That's the duality of accountability dealing with us. Accountability is a great thing. It's a tool of elevation. It's a tool that it actually shows you that I love you. I see greater. But in our people, they'll say, man, you hating on me, or you switching up. And so we have to hold ourselves accountable in that aspect and say, well, dang, we don't like holding up, we don't like being held accountable. And so therefore that makes us live in karmic cycles as well, because can't nobody tell us nothing. So we end up stuck in the wilderness for all this time, when really the Most High gave us the tool, the answer, sent our cousin to call us and tell us, hey girl, you should try this. Hey bro, you should try this. And we was like, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Just because of who it was coming from. You see all these different type of things, So I would say for me, breaking the karmic cycles is, and we are in a time of manifestation. This is the 7 year. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want these karmic cycles to be holding up your manifestations. There may be things that you're desiring, things you want to happen, but you out here putting out these negative energies into the planet. And like I said, your heart space attracts. It's magnetic. So however your heart is, if your heart is not pure, you're going to attract whatever, you know what I'm saying, energy and frequency that you're operating and you're living on. You know what I'm saying? So
And
let's
so I didn't want to cut your wisdom, King, but I did want to comment and say, because I feel as though, and I saw some comments, some people are not necessarily familiar fully with what a karmic cycle is, or what a karmic cycle, what that looks like. And so a karmic cycle can vary. I know some people may have even heard of like karmic relationships. And so like your karmic cycle can essentially be it's a pattern. It's a pattern, it's a cycle that has been recreated and relived. And sometimes the karmic cycle can be from lifetimes. It can be from another lifetime, some things that you had unfinished, or things that you had done that now have to be undone in this lifetime, or vice versa. And so, in terms of karma, in terms of karmic cycles, the objective in terms of your ascension, your expansion, is to identify and become aware of these cycles, of these patterns that are taking place in your life. And once you become aware, you break them. You break those patterns, you break those cycles by integrating the knowledge, the wisdom from these experiences to them. So you're not reliving them. You understand what I'm saying? And so I felt it was important to bring people to awareness of what a karmic cycle even is, or what it may look like. So for those of you who are in situations where you find yourself meeting the same person in different people, that is a karmic cycle. That is a pattern. That is something that you need to learn that you haven't received fully yet. That is a test. That is something that is coming to test whether or not are you going to listen to your intuition, your inner wisdom and guidance, these red flags, your discernment, or are you going to now disregard it for opportunity, or try to control something that you feel it should be this way? You understand what I'm saying? So, in terms of karmic cycles, in terms of your healing process, surrender is a very major part of the process, and acceptance.
and accept this. No, that's key. You said it. I had to say
Surrender.
that for a moment, after
You said
that.
what?
I had to say loud for a moment after that. You really broke that down, very well.
I I appreciate you, family. I have to mute the phone when you're talking. It's a whole situation we got going on, but we rock it. We got it going. But nah, essentially, I do. I feel like that aspect is important because I found myself taking on that woe is me attitude, taking on that, damn, why does it keep happening to me? Like, why do I keep experiencing the same thing? That right there is showing you and telling you there's a pattern and cycle that's being recreated in your life that you just are simply ignoring, that you're simply ignoring, you know?
Yeah, and truthfully, it's not just a personal thing, family. There's a collective karmic cycle, or collective karma. And we talked about this last episode actually, on Shadow Work Sundays, about the Rainbow Collective. We have to understand that karma comes from us not loving each other as well, and not just becoming one and accepting each other for who each other is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to be like you, and you don't have to be like me for us to coexist in the same place in love. You know what I'm saying? And so, whenever Kanesha is breaking down the karma and these certain things that are coming back and back and back, understand, if you're judging someone, then what they say, you become what you judge as well, or something like that. That's another saying as well. So you know judging people and being in the aspect of not accepting people for who they are, that's only a reflection of that you don't accept you for who you are. And so let's just understand that, the I feel like a lot of us, if we do personal shadow work, it'll clear a lot of our karma, because we only treat a lot of people the way we treat them based off of how we feel about ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So, self work and self love and self accountability, is very important, family.
Absolutely. Self-love, self-accountability is it's a part of the process. You know, what was the saying I was going to say? People who tend to judge are only judging a wound within themselves that's unhealed. And our eyes tend to be projectors. Ooh. Projectors rather than receivers. Like our eyes, we tend to think that our eyes receive information, and then we respond from a point of what we're receiving. But in all actuality, a lot of instances, what we're seeing is not actually what's taking place. We are projecting a past experience on what we're experiencing at the
I
moment.
sure.
We are like looking at this situation, and this person is saying this to me in this present moment, but because it sounds like something I'd heard in the past, that's the automatic memory that I'm grabbing and putting to the forefront. And now I can't really receive what this person is saying to me because it's blocked because of this memory I've just now pulled out of nowhere that has now blocked that frequency. You know what I'm saying? That harmonic frequency. And so I feel like that is, that's a very important perspective as well in terms of this.
You know what? That's called reservation, family. You know, and reservation is like, if you don't take the trash out and you just let it just keep stacking up and just stacking up and stacking up. You know what I'm saying? At some point, it's going to fall over. It's going to stink. It's going to make a mess. You're not going to be ready. Say somebody come, like she said, when somebody comes to you, you respond. So somebody comes to your house randomly, you're not ready for no random guests, because you got all this stacked up trash all on your house. You don't even, you know what I mean? So now you're reactive, like you said. You're not even moving in flow state, because of baggage, luggage, trash. You know what I mean? That and what's deep about this is that a lot of us, We'll look at someone's clothes and say they dirty, they this and that, but not even looking at how would you look at your own emotions, look at your own life, your own actions, and you tell me about purity. That's what it's about. We want to clean ourselves up. You know what I'm saying? We want to look at ourselves and say, well, dang, I could have did that better. Even if you do react to somebody like that, it happens. It happens, family. But after that situation, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna be like, shit, I'm just feeling some type of way today. I'm gonna talk bad to everybody because that's just how I'm feeling today. Or are we gonna say, dang, what's going on with me today? What made me snap on that person like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, and we come to a place of what we keep going back to, awareness. You see what I'm saying? This ain't about being perfect, family. It's about being aware. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. That's the thing. It's a journey. And I wrote a few notes. The mind is essentially a tool. The mind is a tool. The heart is what powers the mind. And I feel like a lot of us tend to have it a little bit opposite, backwards. We're in our heads a lot. We're thinking a lot in our heads. And when we are in our heads, we are not present in the moment. We're not present. And there's a book I'm actually listening to. I'm not reading it, it's the audio, but I'm actually going to share it on the page, on the Instagram page, the Wife of Creation page. But the book, the author focuses, or he mentions on his journey in finding himself, that the main thing that was his focus and intent was sustaining the present moment, sustaining the now, right? Sustaining the now. And I really it really resonated with me because I'm like, dang, like you don't really tend to think about how much throughout the day we are not present in the moment, in the now. Like we are literally consistently thinking about either the past or the future. It's like, oh, I gotta get money, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. This is what I want to do next with my life. This is what I want. But we're never right here. Like we're never just in this moment. And it really dawns on me that like, yo, if we were to practice that presence and surrender our control, life and living within itself is a healing experience. You know what I'm saying? Like life and living is healing if you surrender control. If you know what I'm saying? So it's like we kind of tend to make things more difficult for ourselves because we want a specific outcome because we're always focused on the future. We're focused on a specific timeline, a specific time. And it takes us out of the present, out of the now, out of the journey, which is the part that's teaching us. That's the experiences. This is why we subconsciously forget these patterns and cycles and go relive them somewhere else because we're consistently focusing on the future, other times, if I'm making sense.
No, you make it say, just keep talking.
I'm like, yo, it really was really powerful. I gotta remember the author's name, but it was really powerful because a lot of us we're not present. We're constantly, consistently focused on the future. We're constantly either harping over the past so much so that we can't open up and receive, you know, the present, the gift now.
And it's powerful, family, because we're talking about duality. And so she just broke it down into the aspect of every second, every millisecond, what are you doing with your thoughts? What are you doing with, you know, and basically, almost just making it clear to us that you can feel like you're living, but if you're constantly focused on the past and focused on the future, are you really living? Because the things that are happening in the right now are not being experienced to the fullness thereof. You see what I'm saying? So how can you ever be whole? You see what I'm saying? And we're talking about becoming your authentic self, but that's also at the at the level of wholeness. You see what I'm saying? So I thought that's very powerful to talk about the present moment, and that's why meditation is important, family, because it is training, and it is a time where you actually take yourself and you completely live in the present moment. Whether your thoughts are moving and all that, you're still present in that present moment. You understand that you are one with whatever you're focused on manifesting, whether you're just meditating to just calm yourself down, or you're meditating to tap into the quantum world, you're meditating to manifest something, or you meditate whatever you're meditating for, you're one with that. So what she's saying is also is that you can't heal, we can't live, we can't be happy unless we actually can be one with when we spend time with our mother. When we get the, even though mama might be tripping, me and mama might not have the best relationship, but when I get the opportunity to, I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to be present in that moment. You know, we're not going to be. See, I love Kanacia and her whole platform and her mentality, because she stands on not being a victim. And so we have to understand that when we're constantly complaining, that's a victim mentality. He always doing this. She always doing this. See, that is a victim mentality. You see what I'm saying? And so we're detaching from that victim mentality so we can live in the present. Because if we're always judging, we'll never be able to accept. How can you accept someone if you're judging them? You know what I mean? So this is very powerful. Just it's almost like this is a episode of a foundation, because now we're talking about the present moment, and that is being okay, family. If you gotta cry in the present, some of us, when COVID happened, a lot of marriages and relationships, people broke up, a lot of things happened and separation happened because people had to deal with each other. They couldn't keep running and go do this, go do that, go do that. That's what living in the moment creates for you. It creates that you will never lie to yourself again. When you're living in the moment. You know what I'm saying?
It's a reality. It's a reality. I found it to be so powerful because essentially what he had, the author of the book had also further mentioned was he had began to meditate, to repeat affirmations, and to go through various modalities of healing over the course of 17 years. And it was so much so that once he got to a specific point, he could basically like see himself outside of himself. So like in his engagements with people, he had raised his consciousness and his kundalini, his third eye, so much so that he was to the point where he could, basically see himself engaging with others and be in a state of observer and not absorber, where he's not reacting, and he can see himself engaging and in different conversations with different types of people, but in those different types of engagements and conversations, none of it he's attaching to. He's just observing it. He's not reacting to any of it. Nothing has an effect on his overall, perspective. And I felt like that was extremely powerful because that is the point of which we all want to rise to, like when we speak about expansion, we talk about being woke or awakened, or what that even is or what that looks like. It looks different for everyone. My process began far way before my experience with domestic violence. Domestic violence was what brought it to my face. It was a slap in the face and showed me everything I had been ignoring for the last 20 something years. And so I feel like it's important for us to understand that level of consciousness, again, we're talking about consciousness, that level of consciousness is obtainable where we become the observer of our environment rather than the absorber. rather than reacting to things that have no, effect on us. If you are certain and sure of who you are and aware of who you are, then a conversation with someone is simply a conversation. But if you are unaware of who you are, if you are still searching for validation outside of yourself, a conversation with the wrong person can be a form of warfare, because their words can throw you off of your trajectory, throw you off of your path, throw you off of your purpose. And so when we talk about alchemizing, when we talk about expansion and taking a situation and turning it from dark to light, transmuting it, why did this happen to me, rather, or this happened for me, rather than why did it happen to me? That's that process.
I say. I want to tap in on this question. Um, so someone asked, how do you deal with someone who projects their insecurities on you daily? How do you deal with them with understanding and love? My apologies. Um, that's a deep question because the key word that stands out to me is on the daily. So first and foremost, healing and the process of healing, especially if it honestly depends on where you're at, family, in your healing phase. If you're going through some deep shadow work right now, I feel like, isolation is always, it helps because we isolate to elevate. So I would say focused on, creating you a schedule, of things to do outside of the home, and even in the home when you're doing something, try to create these spaces where you're busy and you're focused, so you don't have room for the BS. And when you deal with this person, actually don't project on them. If they're projecting on you, whatever they're doing, they have the insecurities, just obviously respond back in love and not in sarcastic, from a sarcastic aspect, but from a genuine aspect. Really feel, because some people say, how do I respond in love? Don't think, family. Don't overthink, because thinking will have you overthinking. When we're dealing with people, feel whenever that person's talking to you, how does those words make you feel? And then you go to a place of compassion for that person. You say, well, dang, you obviously hurting and broken. You obviously, and don't say that to some people, can't handle those words, but that'll be your motivation to give them love, and you remove yourself and you go back to your schedule. The schedule is so that you don't end up in a space where you're overthinking after something happened. Nope. I know I'm about to do. I got my list of things that I do. I'm about to go take my walk at the park, or I'm about to go. I got my spot. Whatever it is that you do, yeah, I would say create you a schedule first and foremost. Um, Long as, because it's just deep when you say insecurities, because that could, I don't know if we're talking, if it could get physical. I don't know if it's verbal abuse. I don't know. So when it comes to those type of things, I feel like, don't it, like what Kanisha was saying a while ago, don't accept it. Don't allow those things into your org field, into your heart space with somebody. If these insecurities are causing someone to project negative emotions and speaking down on you, to where it could cause you low self-esteem, don't accept those words, family. And you actually speak against those words, even if while they're speaking, you have to speak affirmations against everything that they saying. Everything that they say that you are, you speak that I am not this, and counter with what you are. you know Build yourself up. Whatever you're dealing with, an insecure person, I would say truthfully, don't allow that to be contagious, because that's what they want. They want you to feel worthless as well. They want you to feel how they feel. So make sure that that you love yourself through this process.
Absolutely, King. I would have to agree with everything that you said. And also, just with the fact that this person is aware that this whoever is projecting on them is indeed projecting, and they're projecting their own insecurities, you have an essential key. You know what I'm saying? That awareness of what that is a very important key. And now you have to ask yourself what you're going to do with that key, with that awareness. You do not have to accept, be spoken to in any kind of way. However, you do not have to be reactionary either. I feel as though, especially myself, from my past self, I felt there was strength in arguing. There was strength in showing aggression. There was strength in reacting. But there's so much more strength in silence. There's so much more strength in, seeing that somebody's anger is coming from a place of pain, you know what I'm saying? And having compassion for that person and understanding or understanding that they're expressing their pain and they're projecting it on you. And so, as King said, having your own routine, your ritual. I'm not sure if this is a spouse, a partner, if it's an intimate partner or someone that, you can break away from and cut ties with. I honestly do suggest doing your healing, doing your shadow work in an isolated space, if that's possible. If it's a parent or a family member, yeah, get a routine, um, and 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 embrace the energy of um, that Christ consciousness. Embrace the energy of compassion. You know what I'm saying? Like, for those of you who follow a religious background or identify with a religious indoctrination, I consider myself to be more spiritual, and yeah, so I ain't even gonna go there, but
Mhm.
essentially, yeah, you have to adopt a routine, a ritual for yourself, a practice, get yourself to a space um, that you can develop and expand in the ways that your soul needs.
I say, I say, self-love can seem selfish, family, in certain environments, to be honest. And that sucks, because we want the people around us to love themselves. We want them to have this type of awareness, but truth is we can't force it. It's about an open heart. You can't plant seeds on concrete. So it don't matter how much you talk or you try to. We can't force it on no one. And so what we can do is work on ourselves. And truthfully be the light. How do you be the light? A light don't tell you it's shining, it just shine. You know what I mean? So be the light.
Shay, I know from my personal experience, once you begin to awaken, you begin your journey in healing and your process, your conscious level changes, your perspective changes, your friends, your conversations, everything changes. And you find yourself where you're having conversations and you may not necessarily resonate with people that you used to. That's all a part of the process. That's all a part of that awakening. Does that mean that you guys are forever, a dub? No. But it does mean, that this is a part, a phase in your life, that's a shift that's taking place, that's for your own personal expansion and growth, you know.
I say. So I actually I feel like I want to ask you a question, Kanacia. It's not, it's not a yeah, you're not aware of this question, but it's a great question. I feel like
Okay.
it's good dialogue. So when it comes to being the wife of creation, right, and we understand the duality of nature, how do you feel like, I'll give an example. Shadow work Sundays, when I create whenever that came to me, I now embody shadow work, and shadow work be on my neck. You know what I'm saying? And I have to face it, and I have to alchemize the energy, and I have to, I really became that. The universe did not play with me. So when it comes to you being the wife of creation, like I said, the duality of nature, how do you actually alchemize, and how do you actually, you know, um, use this responsibility as a tool, to even be able to come on here and do this podcast and to speak to the world, because that is a dualistic. The wife of creation is not just about the beautiful parts of nature, but the deep and the ugly roots and parts of nature as well.
Well, yeah, the question is the answer is definitely in the question, in the sense of I I had to I was in two different worlds, right? In a sense of my background, creative direction in the industry, very heavily in the industry. And so when my experience with domestic violence happened, it forced my consciousness to shift and my perspective to change, and a lot of the things that were in me that were dormant began to rise. And so Wife of Creation itself as a whole had been something that had been lying in me dormantly for as long as I lived, as long as I've been here. However, that experience pushed me to find me, and so in terms of the duality with Wife of Creation, it has in the past put pressure on my journey because Wife of Creation it has a soul within itself. I don't claim it as solely mine as my own. It's something that's for the collective in terms of healing. And so the way it had come to me was via my own expansion, as almost like an extension of my own healing. And so in order for it to manifest, I had to become it. I had to live it. I had to walk in it holistically. I had to change the way that I looked at everything, how I ate, what I watched, what I consumed on a daily, the people that I talked to, the clothes that I wore. Every single part of me, I had to recreate from a personal perspective. And so, in terms of Wife of Creation, like I said, it has a soul of its own. It's its own entity, its own energy and essence. However, if I did not rise to that, this would not be able to manifest. And so, in terms of that duality, coming from one world and shifting from that world to this holistic, naturopathic healing space is is quite a duality. It's quite a shift. You know what I'm saying? It's quite a shift. And so upon my acceptance and stepping into my calling, stepping into my purpose, you know, I see it, and that was why it was so um powerful and enlightening once I was able to accept my experience with domestic violence, once I was able to accept how it was able to show me, what was already in me, in terms of desiring to know myself on a deeper level, desiring to know God on a deeper level. I had gone to church and had experiences where I'd been in church and watched every single person around me catch the Holy Ghost. And I'm sitting here like, yo, what's going on? Like, and I didn't have that connection, but it took me for me to go and find me, for me to find God. And so I hope I answered that.
No, it was amazing. That question was definitely something that was from the spirit, what I'm saying? So I was following the spirit, and so your answer was everything that it was supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, very. And once again, I love how you talk. You talk in tools. Like when you speak, it's like somewhere in there is a tool, a gym tool, you know what I'm saying, being dropped in there. So man, very, very powerful.
I think
You know.
it's important because for me, again, mentioning coming from one world and one dynamic to another, that world and dynamic is also very private. It's very private. It's very in-house, it's very tight knit, and so for me, that was a part of my process and journey. Also, expressing my story, telling my story, telling people about my experiences helped heal me. It helped put things in perspective. It helped me reflect on things. So there were times when I sat up here and I had interviews with people and I'm answering questions, but I'm literally still in the process of healing other aspects, you know what I'm saying, on the journey. And so for me, it's important for that vulnerability, for that authenticity, for that, safe space and community to just share our authentic stories, to share our experiences so that we can slowly but surely shed the densities, shed the past programming, the limiting beliefs, the energies of lack and fear and scarcity, and replace them. You know what I'm saying? With that confidence, that God energy. That light, that enlightenment. Those words, it comes via the information, the wisdom, the knowledge, and the more that you are seeking that, the more whole you become.
I say, and that's what this is all about, family. The journey, is to become whole. And like I said, she talks about the authentic self. That is the whole, you whole. You know what I'm saying? So we're getting rid of all the cracks. You know what I mean? The etymology of crazy is full of cracks. You know what I'm saying? So separate it. So they call us crazy, but when a person is acting crazy, it's just an example of them being broken. You know what I'm saying? So let's become whole. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's beautiful. Anybody have any questions? I'm looking to see what
I was
them.
just going to say the same thing as deep. You know, especially about the Pisces energy. Just how was y'all experience? How has it been? Are we the only ones? You know what I'm saying, out here that had to alchemize this energy?
Oh, somebody asked to join.
So I'll say this really quick, just a message to the collective about this Pisces energy that we have been dealing with. Whatever is going on, and this is the metaphor that I have to give. Um, it's like a bunch of water. We'll say the ocean, and it's you and everything around you. It's different things in your life. The only thing that's going to stay and that's going to be there after this wave of this water, this Pisces energy, flows through, is the things that are solid. And so we have to make sure that we are able to detach in this season from the certain things that are not good for us or that are not serving us, so that we can go to the next level and the next process, so that we can break what we were talking about earlier, which is these karmic cycles. So that is how you alchemize this energy, family, understanding that it is a part of us breaking and detaching from karmic cycles and letting things go that don't serve us. Because peep this out, only reason why certain things that don't serve us we allow to stay around is because of these voids inside of us. So this Pisces energy could be removing something for you to be whole, for you to actually feel the emptiness, so you can feel it for real this time. You see what I'm saying? I think whenever feelings don't feel good, we run from them. But that ain't right. I'm doing something wrong. No, family, you're doing something right.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, as we mentioned earlier, we are conductors of energy, manifestors. And so you have the ability to create your own reality. And so that's why taking on that victimization, taking on that victim mentality, that woe is me attitude does not serve you. It's low vibrational and it doesn't help you expand and accept the what that experience was there to teach you. And if you are unable to accept it, you are more than likely susceptible to repeat the same cycle, to repeat the same pattern. And so that's primarily what we're talking about tonight. Just that process, in alchemizing. We talk about healing in different modalities and different perspectives, but in real time, being present in the moment, being conscious in the moment, and um, being aligned with the frequency of the moment, being your authentic self, speaking from your heart. These are all things that you want to practice. And there was one thing that you said earlier, King, just in regards to what was it? Damn, I hooked it now. My bad. It was something that you said that I wanted to focus on as well before we exited tonight. Um, just in terms of, like, that process, the ascension process, and being woke, like the density in our hearts, things that we carry in our hearts, a lot of these experiences that are here to teach us, the more that we harbor or hold on to these grudges and keep these things in our hearts, we're preventing that new beginning, that new start, that new abundance from coming into our lives. And so, in terms of alchemizing, in terms of transmuting, in terms of perspectives, we're just basically providing you with different tools that you can utilize in real time, to remain conscious in your conversation, to say to yourself, okay, this person is speaking to me from a perspective of the past. So I'm not going to engage and react to that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to show love and compassion because I know this is a projection. And that is how you begin to reprogram and create the reality that you desire to experience.
I see. So I have there's a question in the chat. Um, is it a difference between giving yourself grace versus making an excuse? And I would say the key to that, family, is awareness. It's kind of like going to college, right? The difference between high school, middle school, and college. You have to know the difference. Like, you ain't got to go to class if you don't want to, but won't nobody know. What I mean? You ain't gotta. So it's almost like you got to use that awareness to know, dang, am I making that excuse, like, or do I need a break? I need some self love. I need some self care. I'm finna go and watch me a movie. I'm finna relax. And that'll let you know. You know what I'm saying? I would say use your own awareness.
It's so funny that oh, it's so funny that was a download that had come to me earlier this week. Like, a part of your awareness and coming to your consciousness is, the responsibility in knowing what part of you is uh, genuinely needing rest and genuinely needing time to recoup, and what part of you is creating an excuse and being lazy because this is a new pattern that doesn't want to do, that it doesn't want to start. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
you have to become aware and discern, what part do I really just need rest, or am I just being lazy right now because this is something that, is new that I've been putting on for a while. That's your
And if you
responsibility.
are being lazy, figure out why. Because most times when we're lazy, it's not like depression, but it's the energy of depression. It could lead to it. So we got to catch that.
I read somewhere that basically, when we get into that depressed mode, when we find ourselves being more lazy, that's because we're not honoring our soul, we're not honoring our spirit. And our spirit is exhausted because it's trying to express to us what it wants, what it desires. But the more that we ignore it, we tire it out. It's an energetic, it's a subtle body. You can't see the spirit, but it's working overtime through your gut, through those red flags, through those feelings, through the whispers in your ear, that intuitive knowing. It's communicating to you. And when we ignore it, we tend to exhaust our spirit. We exhaust, and the physical body now has to shut down because the spirit has been like, yo, what's going on? And there's conflict internally, there's conflict. And so that's something that I read that resonated with me and made a lot of sense. And so if you are finding yourself feeling more tired or lazy, that could be a key indication that, there's something in your life or an area that's being ignored, that's not being honored, and that it needs to be reflected upon.
We say we understand we're energy. So she's saying certain parts of yourself you got to charge up. You know what I'm saying? You ain't putting that life into them. You ain't feeding it. You ain't, giving it life. Then, it's dormant. As she spoke about wife of creation, been there. She said it been inside. It was just dormant. So we have to feed life and give life. You know what I'm saying, to these. I was writing a song earlier, and one of my lines was that the ashe. I closed my eyes and saw the ashe inside is still alive. And so that's what we have to understand. That this power of the Most High, this power of the universe, this unlimited, compassionate, graceful, all knowing power is right within inside of us, at all times. You know what I'm saying? So, and then whenever you right before we close, I like officially close, I have a few spiritual tools that we can give them, just to close out the episode.
So, okay, let's do it. So I'm gonna just ask if there are any more questions for the evening before we close out. If anybody else has any more questions or comments, personal experiences they care to share.
Yeah, I wish Instagram wasn't like how they were, man. This would be a good time to play another vibe.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? And so all the family on Instagram, y'all go to Wife of Creation and y'all subscribe. You know what I'm saying? For those that just tapped in, the live will actually be on Instagram and YouTube, so you can tap in and catch the live. But I would just say, just showing love, to Kanacia and out of support. Definitely go subscribe to our YouTube channel.
So, all right. I mean, I feel as though we don't have any more questions for the evening. So if you want to just lead us out with the tools for the evening.
Shay. And so for any questions that people may have that we're not seeing, hopefully this will answer some of those questions as well. So one, spend some time alone and reflect on life, reflect on your feelings, reflect on your desires, then go back into your heart space, where you will find the answers to what you need to do and where you need to stay, in the sense of like, the areas that you need to make action on and the areas that you need to be still in, so go within and, connect with that type of awareness. Live in intention. Don't compromise, know what you represent and stand on it. So don't let anyone allow you to go against who you are. If you say you don't do this, if these are your boundaries, then stand on that, because that is a representation of self-love, and it will bring courage and confidence to how you love yourself. And then number 3, love who you are becoming, compliment yourself, encourage yourself, and do daily affirmations. Ashe.
That's key. Ashe. That was beautiful. Thank you for those gems, King. Thank you.
Ashe. Much gratitude to you, for the gems tonight, the tool gems,
Beautiful. Today was a beautiful episode. I really hope that all of you had your notebooks and your pens and your pencils to take some notes. We're going to be doing this every Thursday. Thank you all for sharing your energy with us, and sharing this space with us. And as we mentioned earlier, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Wife of Creation. You can also catch King on Sundays, on Shadow Work Sundays on YouTube. And yeah, we'll be here every week, every Thursday.
I say. Much gratitude to the tribe. Peace.
Much gratitude. Peace.
So many people come to me and ask me how I healed myself, or how do they begin their own healing. There is no one way to heal. Healing is a journey. Healing is a restoration to one's original purity.